Good evening. I would like to thank you all for joining me and taking the opportunity to inform you about the undoubted benefits of legalizing marijuana at the federal level. Currently, there are over 42,000 Americans sitting in prison unjustly for non-victimized crimes that they have committed. And I would like to use the word crimes in quotations because a lot of the things that these people have done and are in trouble for are simply attempting to seek compassionate care for themselves. It is absolutely disgusting that people are being punished and their lives are being ruined simply for trying to seek compassionate care, especially when considering how drastic today's healthcare scenarios can actually end up being. The federal stance on marijuana is doing significantly more harm to this country than it is doing good. One of the ways that this country is doing more harm to its citizens than it is good by having marijuana be illegal federally is that marijuana would actually help those individuals who need it medicinally. Marijuana is an excellent example of compassionate care. And what I mean by compassionate care is that it allows people that have a wide variety of ailments to be treated by one simple substance or medicine without having to have an entire repertoire or cocktail of other medications, where sometimes the side effects end up bleeding over into the treatments of some of the original medications that you were on. When you're on some of these cocktails, sometimes feeling like a zombie is the best thing that you can actually hope for. And you don't ever actually get treated to be back to where you are. You just get treated to a point to where you can get passed on. They don't treat to make you thrive. They treat to allow you to exist. Secondly is the healthcare costs. Marijuana, if it was legalized, would significantly lower the healthcare costs that we currently face in our country today. This would allow us the potential to utilize more compassionate means of healthcare coverage, quite possibly the avenue of universal healthcare coverage for our citizens. And lastly, the way that it benefits individuals is that it ultimately gives them the choice, and it increases the amount of choices and options that they have when trying to seek and decide which option of care is best for them. The next way in which marijuana should already be legalized, and another reason why it should be legalized, is that it would free up law enforcement to focus on other major areas of crime. Violent crime is a major area that needs to get addressed in this country, and primarily, especially with terrorism being sensationalized in the media as it is. Violent crimes are those crimes where you see are having a deep impact on the way we live our lives afterwards. They instill fear into the general public and create a menacing sense, and it really hurts the community's morale. Having people who are simply trying to seek compassionate care for their medical ailments being the target of these law enforcement resources just seems pretty wasteful and a little bit unjust, in my opinion, as well. One of the other justifications for having law enforcement being able to actually put their resources into a better place, it would be easier for me to go and buy an AR-15 in the state of Minnesota today than it would be for me to go and seek compassionate care and utilize marijuana as my medicine of choice. And as a combat veteran, that just seems a little bit off to me. Speaking of it being a personal issue where it feels off to me, the use of marijuana and the use of whatever you want to utilize for your own medications is a personal use, and it's an issue of choice and autonomy. Having our autonomy be taken away from us is a very restrictive and tyrannical approach to living, and not allowing us the freedom to treat ourselves the ways that we know we need to be treated is extremely oppressive and unjust. The next issue or reason why marijuana should already be legalized at the federal level is that it would provide a significant source of income for towns, counties, states, and other municipalities. The improved education system, the improved neighborhoods, and the improved emergency services would lead to generational improvements that we will continue to see millennia and decades later on if this unjust law were to happen to be federally reversed. It would provide lower tax rates as well for the citizens living within these municipalities, which would then allow them to have more income to spend on what they needed to and to put that back into the economy. Another reason why marijuana should be legalized federally is that it could be regulated at the federal level still, while still being legal. If it was regulated at the federal level, this would make it significantly safer than we currently see it today, as today the black market is allowed to run rampant due to no regulation on the sale and growth of marijuana. States where it has been legalized at the state level have seen significant decreases in major and violent crimes, and it would behoove us to follow the data and understand the trends and stop fighting upstream on this issue. This registration could essentially eliminate the criminal activity that takes place on the black market, and money that's being funneled out of our economy into the black market would no longer be lost, which could in turn be used again to increase the education system. It could be used to provide universal health care or an initial basis for it. It could be used for a universal basic income or supplement to the economy. Again, significant benefits that we would have by getting this money out of the hands of criminals and into the hands of our own municipalities and governments. And lastly, marijuana is not harmful to everyone that uses it. Very similar to somebody that's diabetic who needs insulin. It would help them tremendously to get their medication on time when they need it. However, that shot would not do the same for me. And if I already had a predisposition to be anxious about needles, it actually could put me into a panic attack having to use this without proper knowledge. So it's not always going to be beneficial for everyone, but just because it's not beneficial for everybody doesn't mean that the group of people who would find benefit from it should be restricted from being able to utilize it at all. It should be something that we should be able to get approved for and be able to utilize. Again, speaking as a combat veteran who was in charge of millions of dollars of ammunition, rockets, and missiles on our ammunition supply point when I was deployed to Afghanistan in 2012. It is absolutely beyond belief that I could be trusted with that security clearance to look over those munitions, but I can't be trusted to make a responsible decision right now to seek proper care for ailments and injuries that I incurred while serving my country. It seems fairly backwards to me, and it's something that significantly needs change. I would like to conclude this speech by again summarizing that marijuana being federally legalized will help in justice by allowing those who are currently incarcerated to be free and to take care of their own lives again. It will boost the economy by taking money out of the hands of criminals and putting it into the hands of our government and municipalities. And it will boost the morale of a hurting country that desperately needs a change in our attitude and our compassion.